Go.
Okay, you horrible lot. I've always fancied being a sergeant major. That's in the Royal Engineers. So I've got my little stick, and Beverly said that I needed to do a video about what we've been doing with our electrics. And so you've probably not seen me for a bit on the videos, but that's because I've been up to me elbows in plaster dust and cable. Now, we have got an electrician who's checking everything we do and wiring it in. It's not just me making it up as we go along. Beverly wanted me to do a quick explanation of what we've been doing. So, we're in the utility of horror. Excuse the colour of paint, but there we go. So, one of the things we've been doing is, as you'll see, the cables and the what have you. This is the old cable, which is actually okay, but just needs ducting properly. So this is only temporary, and we've replaced all the conduits and replaced the sockets in here. And what will happen is this will go off to our new consumer unit in the garage when that's put in. And then what we've done is down here, these are just clipped on. So in France, everything is radial. So you don't have things called a ring main. Everything goes from a central point and goes out. So these are our light sockets and our mains sockets and our heater sockets and towel rail sockets, cables, which go into our main bedroom and our bathroom and what is going to become the dressing room as well. So this is the one end of it, and I'll show you what happens to the other end of it in a second when we walk around there. So this is the other side of the wall that we just saw. This is where what's going to become the dressing room. And these are where those conduits have come through. So these conduits are carrying all the cables. And what we've done is we've chiseled out the cables, and down here, for instance, they're coming out of the wall here in, there's a switched light socket and a mains socket. So anything you plug in here will be connected to the switch on the wall so that we can have lights on and off. And this is permanent main, so they've got to be the right size cable, and that's what those there are for. Now, big question is, how do you get your sockets and your cables to your sockets and your switches? And that's where French walls come in handy, because French walls are built using terracotta tiles which have got channels in them. So they provide the strength with very little terracotta, but they also provide a bit of insulation, and they provide a great channel for anybody that's trying to run cables from them. And that's what these are here. So what you do is you bash a hole where the joins are, and you run your cable through. So Beverly just pulls out, so the cables here go along here and come out here. So that cable runs along inside the wall, and then all we do is plaster it up. And jobs are good.
So you thread it through, don't you?
You thread it through, yes, yeah.
So that's what the wall ends up looking like. You see, it's not as holy as what it might be.
Yeah. Otherwise, you've got to run a complete channel. Now, when you're going vertical, because the channels go horizontal, when you're going vertical, you do have to take the entire channel out. But that's what we've done there. Now, this bit here is because that's where the old cabling came through. Now, the old cabling, just to give you an idea why we're doing this, is basically somewhere circa 1970s at best and pre-war at worst. So when the electrician came to replace our consumer unit, to put some proper trip wires in, or sorry, trip fuses in instead of the fuse wire, he refused to connect one of the circuits back in because the cable had melted. Basically, it's just condemned. So what we're doing is we're going around and replacing everything, bearing in mind that the feed into these are still old, so we're still being really careful about what we plug in. But when we get a new consumer unit and a new supply to the garage, then all this will be absolutely bang up to spec and safer than, well, anywhere really. Damn sight safer than the electrics in the UK, because ring mains, for instance, here are illegal because they're unsafe. So there we are. So what we've done is we've pre-planned as well. So we've got our lighting circuits in here. This one here is for an electric heater when we get rid of the boiler, the oil-fired boiler, when we go to electric. However, from a discussion the other day, it might be that we can actually go to an electric boiler rather than an oil-fired boiler, and therefore keep our central heating system. So this gives us the ability to do either. So we put this in now before we decorate, so that we've pre-planned it. What we've also done is run cables through and through the wall here, because the other side of that is our bathroom. And so we've run a specific cable in for the towel rail, because that has to be on a separate fuse compared to anything else. It can't just hang off another circuit. And we've also run the electrics to the ensuite bathroom as well, so that we've pre-planned for when we come to completely. Excuse the bang, that was a door banging in the wind. It wasn't my electrics. So we pre-planned for this room, for our bedroom, and for the ensuite, for all the electrics beforehand. So we've had to make some big decisions as to what's going where, fairly sharpish. And that's all done now. So it's a matter of finishing off the walls and putting the sockets back on, and jobs are good, and we can go and sit in the sun again. So hope that was vaguely interesting for you.